All right, what's up, guys? I'm Brian Rayos, and I just got top four at the 2018 North American World Championship qualifiers. So that means I'm going to be going to the World Championships this year and competing. And so this weekend, I decided to play Trickstar Sky Striker with a few spicy techs. So I played Trickstar because, well, first off, I've been playing Trickstar since last YCS Dallas in October. Um, so once it started to become like the most represented deck, I knew that if I were to play this deck, then I was gonna play a lot of mirrors. And since I know the deck so well already from having played it in the past, I'd be able to beat all the mirrors that I played against. And also, it's just like I got my first top at Dallas. Nats was at Dallas, and I got my first top at Dallas with Trickstar. I was like, all right, I have to play Trickstar again at Dallas. So yeah, it all worked out. But yeah, I'll talk a little more after I show you guys the deck. But for now, here's what I played. So I played the standard 3 Candina, most broken card in the deck that I didn't draw like a lot. I just played 2 Licorice. So the theory is that, so I played another engine in here that you guys will see real soon that kind of conflicts. Like, you don't want to draw too many monsters with this deck because spells with engage is like what you want to do, right? So you can get all the advantage off of engage. But and then like Licorice is good obviously for the burn damage, especially with the new dumb time rules. But you don't really want to see this card in hand unless you have Candina. And if you're already seeing Candina Licorice in hand, then your hand's probably already like more than optimal. As long as you see Candina in hand, then that means you're going to be able to play that game. But if you see Candina Licorice in hand, you're not only going to be able to play that game, but you're going to be able to play that game while having interruptions for your opponent. But it's not a card that you want to like see by itself. That's why I didn't feel it warranted like 3 of. And also I didn't play Desires because I think Desires is like, I don't know. So Desires does something to this deck that hurts the function of the deck, which is it adds like variance to the deck. Because if you activate Desires, there's the possibility that you could banish cards like Lilybell, for instance, which are game stealers. And also it's like in a format where everybody's main decking 3 Ash and 3 Droll. Desires is a card that's very susceptible to get hit, and like sure you can use Desires to bait out those hand traps, but Desires isn't a card you want to be using to baiting out hand traps because it's such a powerful card. So, and when I was testing, every time I would Desires, I'd get ashed, or on the resolution, I'd get drolled, or if it didn't get hit, I would banish like 2 Licorice, Lilybell, or like multiple reincarnations. So I don't know. I just didn't like Desires all that much, and that's why I didn't play it and only played 2 Licorice. But if I would have played Desires, I definitely would have played 3 Licorice, because 2 Licorice in the mirror match is like a win condition, because you can put so much damage on board with this and like a reincarnation or 2. But I was very happy with just this ratio, even though I drew like this card a lot without Candino, but it was alright. And so another reason why I didn't play 3 Candina is because I played the Mek-Knight engine. So I played 2 purple, 1 blue, and 1 Mendigo, as we like to call them. So this list that I played is very similar to the list of the Disciples team that topped UK Nats, because I'll give them like credit where credit is due. They built a very good deck, and but I started testing these when I saw the Oceanics guys, the guy that got first and third, and I started testing the Mek-Knights, but they played 2 purple and 2 blue. But I think like Indigo was correct over 2 purple and 2 blue, because these cards, you're not using them for their effects. Essentially, they're just big beat sticks, which are like insane in the mirror match. So if I draw Indigo, unlike like if I was playing Mek-Knight Invoked, for instance, where this card would be a total brick, excuse me, in this deck, this card like just overperforms because it's just a 2400 attack monster that is like, in general, either it's hard for Trickstar to out it, or they have to go super neg to out it, or make just extremely suboptimal plays to out it. And also, like, if you draw 1 purple or if you draw 1 blue, then you get the entire engine out of the deck, rather than if you were to draw a blue and a purple, you get the engine out of the deck, but then you can't summon anymore for the turn. But with Indigo, you have another monster that you can summon for the turn. So I really liked Indigo. I'm super happy I played this. But yeah, this engine was really good. It's a very small engine, but it's an engine that definitely puts in a lot of work. And the last monsters I just played were some hand traps. The standard 3 Ash and 3 Droll. I tested Gamma a lot, but Gamma has a problem where it's only good if your opponent has like a very good hand. But if your opponent doesn't ash you or draw you at the time where you need Gamma to resolve, then Gamma becomes a dead card in your hand. And like with decks like the Mirror being so like having such a high OTK potential, that I wanted every card in my hand to be playable at all times. And Gamma wasn't something that was always going to be playable for me, which is why I decided not to main deck it. But I did main deck something else over Gamma, because prior to the event I heard that Goki was going to be super popular, and I wasn't comfortable with just playing 6 hand traps versus Goki, just because that deck is like super strong. So I did play to go along with these hand traps. I main deck 3 Impermanence. I think this card is terrible versus a mirror match. I cited out every single game versus the mirror match, but Goki is like such a strong deck that just because of that deck's existence, you need to play like 3 more hand traps, and I just felt that Impermanence was the best one, because a Gamma against Goki, they can ash Gamma, and they can call by the grave, draw, or ash, or even Ogre, but Impermanence is the only hand trap that they can't out with either an ash or a call by the grave. Which is why I figured this would be the 3rd best hand trap. As well as this is like an actual trap. So this is a card that's good going first versus Goki. And you have like a lot of cards in here that they're like advantage-based cards, but advantage-based cards don't do anything versus Goki going first because they can still kill you through advantage. So that's why I liked Impermanence a lot. This card, versus Goki, this card was insane. But versus the Mirror, this card is terrible. I cite it out every time. But that's it for like the monsters and the hand traps. For the spells, I played the standard 3 light stage, 3 engage, staples. I played the best. Oh, this is terraforming, not engage. The best card in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, 3 engage. This card should get banned. This card is like, if you resolve this with 3 spells engraved, you're gonna win every single time. But the reason why this card's so good is because of 3 Hornet Drones. This is what makes this deck good, because prior to having this engine in here, getting over monsters and stuff and just boards was like difficult for this deck because all the monsters are small. So you'd be forced to play cards like Eater of Million or Honest. And I actually like Eater of Millions a lot. I think that card's really good. But that's a card that you kind of have to like hard draw, and you have to like it's effect. Like you can get striked or you can get veilered or whatever, right? But this card is not. It's not only is it a searchable engine. It's a searchable engine that nets you advantage, and it's an engine that can recur itself with Kagari, and it's also just gives you access to link fodder. So this engine is like obviously insane. And then the Shizuku target essentially was just 1 afterburners. A lot of people play Widow Anchor as well as afterburners, or they'll play like Jamming Waves, Widow Anchor. But I thought that Widow Anchor is trash. That card is a dead draw going first unless you brick, and if you brick, then you're probably gonna lose that game regardless. I think Jamming Waves is really good. I like Jamming Waves a lot, but I just didn't have room for it, neither in the main nor in the side. So unfortunately, I didn't play it. I felt that Afterburners was the best one, and so I decided to play Afterburners. I don't think you need more than 1 target if you're not playing Desires, because then this card's always gonna be searchable. But there were some times that I did miss like the 2nd target only because I would brick. I would draw like 3 Hornet or 2 engage, 2 Hornet, and at that point you can't resolve the other engage. But if you're missing the 2nd target because you're bricking, then having the 2nd target isn't going to change the fact that you break. So I thought the Afterburners was enough. I think this card's actually insane because, as everybody knows, this card forces out Scapegoat, and forcing out Scapegoat versus a Mirror, most of the times you're going to win. So this card was really good. I played 3 Scapegoat. Funny enough, in Swiss, I resolved this maybe twice, all of Swiss. In Top Cut, I did draw it a little more, thankfully. But this is another card that should get banned. This card's like so good. But not much to talk about there. Last spell I played was 3 Called by the Grave. So this card, every single time I drew this card, I won. Obviously, people are going to ash you. They're going to draw you. But they're going to draw you or ash you when you're searching cards that are like Candina, Licorice, or when you're searching off Engage. So you're getting advantage off of those cards, and if you're going second and getting that advantage off, then you're getting ready to make a big push. But if they draw you or if they ash you, then that push ends, and essentially your turn ends because draw is essentially a dimensional barrier. But Call by the Grave stops all that and lets you to play. And if you go first and your hand is like all spells, like it's Light Stage, Terraforming, Engage, all that, and you get drolled right there, then it really hurts because your turn just ends effectively and your opponent gets to go off. but Called by the Grave stops that and guarantees you're able to play. And this card also has like other utility, like it's good going first versus Goki, because you can negate monster effects from the graveyard. Versus the Mirror, if you don't have Candina and you know they have Candina in hand, you can Call by the Grave their Candina from the graveyard and negate their Candina during the next turn. This can either force out Reincarnation or chain a Reincarnation and get rid of their monster. This card just has a lot of utility. I think this is definitely one of the best spells in the format right now. And then just finally, the last cards I played in my main deck were 3 Reincarnation. I was testing 2 for the longest, but shout out to Team Big Dog, my boys Caesar, Francisco, Guzman, and Nico. They convinced me to play the 3rd Reincarnation because they told me, like, if you have 2 Reincarnation and 2 Licorice versus the Mirror match or really any other deck, then it's just game. Because they're going to take an absurd amount of damage that they're going to be left with maybe like 2 or 3 searches left. But the deck can't, the Mirror can't beat you with just 2 or 3 searches. And then plus, this card is literally Monster Reborn for Trickstars. So having 2 Monster Reborns in Grave is ridiculous. So I wanted to play, it was either going to be 3 Licorice and 2 Reincarnation or 2 Reincarnation and 3 Licorice. But I'd rather see Reincarnation every time because this is also link fodder for like Phoenix and stuff. It's good cards to discard. So this was really good. And then, yeah, this card just shotgunning double of these standby phase, even if you just have 1 Licorice on board, is really good because it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. And being able to like do a lot of damage without having to do anything to your opponent, it starts to like kind of stress them out and makes them do kind of like suboptimal plays where they'll have to pop Licorice so they can't take any more damage. But by that point, they've had to do either one of 2 things. They've either had to get rid of Licorice by doing something suboptimal to the turn, or just take a lot more damage from all their searches. And then, regardless of either situation, you still have 2 Reincarnations in graveyard and a Candina in hand. So you're going to be able to summon like whatever link you want from your extra deck, whatever defensive measure you need, that you're just going to win every single time. If you have 2 Reincarnation, you're going to win that game almost every single time. This card's so good. But that's it for the main deck, and I played 41 cards. So for the extra deck, it's pretty standard. I played 2 Kagari, 1 Shizuku. This ratio was perfect. 1 Firewall. Somebody in Team Big Dog, whose name will not be mentioned, said, no, that card sucks, and I'll play Breaksword. But this is like the most broken link ever made, and then this card should get banned. And I don't know what that idiot was thinking, but who knows who that is? And I like...
Nico?
Yeah, that guy Nico sucks. I looped people maybe like 4 or 5 times during the tournament. So this card's crazy. I decided to play Saryuja. I didn't like this card at all because the only time you're ever supposed to make this card is if your hand is garbage.
It's trash.
But like a lot of the times in tournament, I would just brick, and this card would help me unbrick. And then this card is also I summon this a lot going first versus Goki. Because sometimes your hand is just like unplayable going first versus Goki, that you need to draw cards like Impermanence and Reincarnation. So being able to summon this to draw into cards like that, or like draw an Ash, is really good. But you're not actually supposed to summon this. You're only supposed to summon this if you brick. But once again, if you brick, you're most likely going to lose that game regardless. But yeah, it did come up for me, so I'm glad I played it. This was the best card in my extra deck, Topologic. First off, a lot of people don't play around the effect, the continuous effect to pop stuff. So they don't even know that monsters they summon to link zones that their only monster points to will trigger this effect, and so their monsters will get destroyed. But even that, this card also helps you beat Scapegoat, because if you force out the Scapegoat, then you can just summon this, summon like a Hornet Drones or Reincarnation, a Trickstar into a zone this points to, and then you just Raigeki their field. So this card is insane. I played 1 Trismania. I misplayed in Top Cut with this because I forgot that I can't activate Scapegoat and Hornet in the same turn. But it didn't matter. I would have lost that game regardless because he had Denko. This card is really good because it also forces out Scapegoat. But I don't know. This card's alright. It's not bad. This is one of the best cards in my extra deck. Shout out to Caesar for recommending this to me. 1 in Girsu. I played this over Borreload because I think Borreload just sucks. Like, it doesn't really do much for you. And this card forces out Scapegoat as well, because if they don't change the activation of the effect, then I can just get rid of their Scapegoat for free. And pretty much one Hornet Drones and like one of any other monster, like Hand Trap or Licorice or Lilybell, whatever monster it is, equals this. And it's not non-targeting removal in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is insane. So I'm glad I played this. This card was ridiculous. I'd play this over board load all day. And then for the most broken links in Yu-Gi-Oh! Unicorn, Phoenix, Goblin, Cerberus. Prior to Top Cut, I never summoned this and was really regretting not playing 2 Phoenix. But in Top Cut, this came up like 2 games. I kind of messed up in feature match with this, but I was gonna lose that game regardless. But I like this ratio. Maybe 2 Phoenix is right, but this comes up sometimes, so you kind of have to play this like versus Goki. If you hand trap them, they'll just end Mermaid Phoenix a lot, and you can just summon this, pop Phoenix, and then attack over Mermaid, and then that's just game. That happened to me in top 8. So this card definitely won me some games versus Goki. And then the final links I played were just 1 Space Insulator, because you kind of have to do it to like for engage and stuff. And then 1 Link Spider and 1 Link Rebo for Scapegoat. But this is all you also use this for Ningirsu. That's it for the extra deck. You know, tokens. So for the side deck, I sided 3 Sphere Mode. I really regretted siding this because so one of 2 things happens. One, Goki was now playing Gumblar with the Neospatian card. So they just discard your whole hand and you lose regardless. So this card is dead. Or 2, you'll Sphere Mode them. You won't be able to normal summon and you'll break. You won't draw Hornet or anything. And then next turn they'll link with this and you'll lose. So I think this should have been 3 Effect Veilers. But I guess I needed more testing with it. This card was just dead all tournament. I don't know. This probably should have been 3 Veilers. 3 Ogre. This card was insane. It won me my top 8 match versus Goki. He said chaining 1 Mermaid, chaining 2 Firewall, chain Ogre, and that was his game. This card's good, and it's also good versus like Spiral, the pure Sky Striker deck to hit multi-roll. It's just good against a lot of decks. So I decided 3 Shared Ride. Originally, before I found out that Goki was going to be highly represented at Nationals, I was main decking these and side decking the 3 Impermanents. But the fact is that this card is only really good when you go first, because even if you draw this going second and you resolve this on them during their turn, most of the time when they're searching stuff, they're pushing for a game, and you drawing cards isn't going to stop them from killing you. So I only wanted this card in my hand when I went first. But if you draw this when you go first, you're going to win almost every time if they don't ash this, just because it's like maxi. So this card is insane when you go first. For the spicy tech of the weekend, I decided to play 3 Night Beam. These were originally 3 Twin Twisters. But against the mirror match, this is Twin Twisters, because so either one of 2 things is going to happen. They're either going to set 1 card, and then you're going to Night Beam that, and they're not going to be able to respond, and they're either going to lose Reincarnation, Goat, or whatever they set. Or they're going to have 2 sets, and you're either going to hit Reincarnation, or you're going to hit Goat, and they're going to want to, in order to play around this, they're going to have to chain one of the other, and then they're going to be able to activate the one you targeted, and now they've lost 2 cards for your 1 card, and then you just +1 pretty much. So this card was really good. The only time I wanted Twin versus Alter, guys, but that's a very free matchup for this deck, so that didn't matter. This was like 100% the MVP. Whenever I drew this going second versus a mirror, it was ridiculous. So I'm very, very happy I started this. And then, for 3 of the worst cards in my side deck, shout out to a certain somebody that told me this card was insane. I sided 3 garbage cards, 3 anti-spell. Yeah, I had 3 open spots in my side deck. My friend Caesar said, hey, anti-spell's pretty good. So I said, all right, I'll side it. This was terrible. The one time I drew it versus the mirror, I drew no Trickstar card, so I lost. When I drew this against pure Sky Striker, I drew no Trickstar cards, and we drew. I drew this versus Pendulum, which was pretty insane because it forced out the red reboot, and that was game. But this card was terrible, and I really regret signing this. I think this should have been 3 Magic Deflector. I think that card's really good. But this was essentially... I pretty much just played this tournament with a 9-card side deck. These 6 cards were just god-awful. But thankfully, the way my main deck was built, and these 9 cards were good enough to get me to top 4. But yeah, that was the deck. I'm going to be going to the World Championships in August 4th and 5th in Japan. Obviously, got to give huge shout-outs to Team Big Dog, best team in the world. We have topped pretty much every premier event we've gone to since YCS Dallas. We topped Dallas. We topped San Diego. We topped Utah, and then now this. We didn't go to Memphis or Atlanta or New Jersey, but pretty much every event we topped. Every event we went to, we topped. You already know this is the best team in the world. Shout out Caesar, Francisco. He went undefeated day one of Swiss, lost last round day one, so he finished X1 in 6th place, and then lost round 10 and 11. So unfortunately, he didn't make it. But his top is coming soon. That's a ARG god, we call him. Shout out to Nuko, future national champion. I'll tell you guys that right now. Shout out to the big dog himself for starting the team name, Caesar. We both topped Utah together. That was pretty cute. He'll get his Nats top soon. Huge shout outs to Guzman. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it to Nats, but I told him that not only was I going to win this mat for him, but I was going to go to Worlds for him, and thank God I was able to do that. Shout outs to everybody from back home. Shout out to Murillo Digital Systems, my local. And shout outs to some of my friends that I saw at the event. Shout outs to like Zach for always hyping me up. Ed, Kenny Wen, I like that guy a lot. And just everybody that congratulated me, everybody that believed in me. And next up is World Championships, and I'm going to try and take that one home for the US. But yeah, thanks guys.
All right, congratulations and peace.